What is underground utility construction? In this video, I'm going to discuss it and discuss how to do it well. So what is the process? What are some tips and tricks? And what are some lean methodologies that you can use when doing underground utility construction? Underground utility construction refers to the installation, repairing, or upgrading of underground utilities. These utilities are generally considered essential, and they can include water supply, wastewater collection, stormwater drainage, natural gas distribution, telecommunications, electricity distribution, and sometimes heating and cooling systems. I love this concept because in my career I've been able to work with a number of underground utility and most of the time excavating contractors, and there's a standard process that works every time. And in fact, if you ever want, and I would like you to reach out to me in the comments below if you want this, but I've got a presentation and information on and examples on how to do this for civil contractors, grading contractors, and underground utility contractors really well. But the best ones that I've seen have a solid business system that they use. Most of them use EOS. They have a really cohesive and aligned leadership team. Their influencers are bought into doing work in an excellent manner. They know how they do business, meaning they have a standard process that really addresses any of the common problems that they face. They do training with all of their people continuously, and they do monthly field walks to make sure that they're implementing. It's pretty simple. For an underground utility contractor, you should be making anywhere from 15 to 30% gross profit. You can make a lot of money, and if you're not, then I promise you, you're not implementing the following strategies that I'm going to explain right now. So here are some key concepts and considerations when you're installing underground utilities. Number one, planning and design. This is huge. Not only in not all cases, but in some cases, are you working with the designers to do potholing, to do modeling, to basically help with routing, how to figure out the best design approach that will support construction, but you are actually planning the project as well. So the best that I've seen with underground utility contractors is to have a high-level, macro-level TAC plan. Sometimes they do it as a regular waterfall schedule, but really map out that high level and start the project planning, which is going to include your schedule, your zone maps, which you'll always have, which will include your stations and your lots and any of the elevations that you might need to reference for your profiles, not elevations, but your profiles for your underground utilities. And you will have your logistics maps, which are huge. You might even have to do drawings for your grading, especially for site grading, so that you know what your strategies are to get rid of undesirable or unsuitable soil versus really good soil as a part of your over-X and compaction process for the site development or the utility installation, right? The creation of all of these, in addition to the project budget, your risk and opportunity register, and your procurement log, which should target the procurement of fixtures, early structures for prefab, and anything else that you might need on the job site, right? So the team is starting to put all this together. And the best thing that I've seen is that and obviously once the team has the award, right? And I'm assuming you do by now, you're putting all this together as the estimating team is putting together the full estimate and translating that into project budgets. You should then be able to take all of that information into what's called a stand and deliver or a fresh eyes meeting or a risk review meeting, where the project team basically says, all right, here's our project, here's our plan and schedule. It's based off of productivity rates, it has good flow. This is our zone map, or how we're going to break it up by lots or by stationing. Here's our logistics plan. Here's our risk and opportunity register, and here's where they show up on the maps. Here's our procurement log. This is our plan to execute the project. And in that meeting, take enough time to where everybody who is in the review or who is doing the review can tear it apart, and we can look at multiple iterations of this plan. This is the best way it's done for underground utility contractors. I would recommend that you go out to the site and you take a look at the existing conditions, you look at the soil, you encourage plenty of boring tests for your soils report, do some test pits out there, see what kind of information you have, look if there's any watering problems, maybe even dig down and see if you have a dewatering problem. Look at the conditions, because excavation is going to be a huge part of your approach and your success on this project. And I'll tell you a story from my great-great-grandfather. He used to do work down in Southern California, and he got called in to recover projects, but it was for a civil contractor. And the existing superintendent for whom he was taking over had like miles of trench open, but it was very, very sandy, and it was in an easement in front of a bunch of residences. So it kept collapsing, and they were spending most of their time with rework. And he went down and looked at the soil, and he was like, this is too sandy. Let's open up a short segment and install the pipe that day, backfill that day, get everything buttoned up, open up that driveway that day, and work in smaller segments. Your soil's conditions will be a huge consideration, so don't ever forget step 2. Step number 3, the utility installation. Obviously, you're going to want to be using your quality checklist for this and installing it right, with the right services, with the right fixtures, at the right elevation. Once that's installed, make sure it's double checked as you go, especially the compaction and especially your inverts, so you don't have to come back and do rework. Number 4, make sure that everything is connected and integrated. For example, you might be installing water line, but until you hook it up, you don't know for certain if you don't have leaks, right? Or if you're doing drainage piping, make sure that it drains properly. So make sure that everything is integrated, and especially if you can, maybe not in certain circumstances because of pressure, but make sure that you do as much of it as you can before backfill, but at least before paving, because if you have leaks, you don't want to go dig up a bunch of pipe to try and find out where the leak is. Find it as soon as you can. But step number 4, you don't want to have leaks, you don't want to have problems, you don't want to have flow problems, so you must have a wonderful testing and inspection process. So the best of the best have crews where they have 3 things on their truck. Number 1, they will have their quality checklist that they review every morning that tells them how to install. Step number 2, they will always have really nice layout sheets for their automatic level, for their builder's level, to make sure that they have double checks when shooting in inverts. And number 3, they will always make sure that they're keeping good as-builts. If you're inspecting as you go, you will make a lot more money. We do not have time to rework these things, especially with utility construction, because now you might be digging up pavement and ruining other things on your way. So another couple things to remember is to go ahead and TV your lines. Go ahead and send that camera down there. Make sure that you're good. Check your flow. Do your pressure tests. Ask your in-house quality department to come do checks whenever you want to, whenever you need to, right? As often as needed. And make sure that in your monthly field walks, you're checking on these systems so that they're 100% functioning and functioning well. Number 6, always make sure that you're doing backfilling properly with the right materials, that you're doing your densities as you go. You don't want any settlement later on. You don't want any problems once you've backfilled and paved. And number 7, make sure everything you do is done with the utmost consideration for the health and safety of your employees who are installing the work. So let me give you an example. With the civil contractors that I typically work with, I will go and do a boot camp with them, and we will review their standard way of doing business. Their builders will go through a certification program, and then they will take that certification program and the lessons learned from it and go install in the field. When they install in the field, I can walk up to any crew and it's perfectly safe. Every crew is reviewing their quality checklist every morning. Every crew is using their layout check sheets, and every crew is doing their as-builts. Also, they're doing continual mentoring and training. They call the quality department to go TV lines and to do specific tests as they go and to do spot checks. When the monthly walks happen, they reinforce these habits and do additional training and conditioning. When they're not meeting production, they do time studies to evaluate whether or not the crew can have a happier, better, safer, but faster and more productive environment. And then this company rewards their people. They create an amazing culture, and they provide opportunities for people to grow. And they are making a wonderful gross profit because they follow the system. So if you want to do it right, plan the job right, train your people well, maintain strict safety, find consistency with layout and elevations, use your quality checklists, do time studies, and be disciplined with as-builts. And the last thing that I want to communicate to you is lean concepts that you should always follow if you want to do well. Number 1, always make sure that you remember to do one piece flow or one process flow. Only go do one station or one run at a time. Plan, build, finish. Don't go batching a bunch of stuff. Don't go open up a mile's worth of excavation for a pipe. Don't go grade 100 lots right away. Go do things in segments. Plan them, build them, finish them as you go. Number 2, remember that busyness is waste. If your track hoe operator is excavating and comes up to an intersection or a problem or a difficulty, sometimes it's better to just stop, get out of the equipment and help the project team versus moving the equipment somewhere else just to move a pile and look busy. Remember, busyness is waste. You're burning diesel, you're adding excess motion and transportation, you're wearing down the equipment, and you might have to move that pile back anyway. Number 3, always memorize the 8 wastes and get your teams trained to see it, because in civil operations, we have waste everywhere and we can make improvements daily. And 4, that's the exact point, make improvements daily. Is the dump truck right next to the excavator to where it only has to turn 90 degrees? Can we bring the truck closer? Are cords spread out too long? Do we have the right sequence when we're putting the trench box in and bringing up that bottom 12 inches underneath the pipe? Are we backfilling effectively with 2 pieces of equipment or 1? Are we in a continual flow? If you can know that busyness and motion is waste, if you know what waste is, then you can make great improvements that will increase your bottom line and help your people. Again, I hope you enjoy this. I'm going to link you to contact information in case you want the examples or if you want the presentation. We can help you at any time. Elevate Construction, we do consulting for companies like this all the time with great success. It's an absolute fantastic system, and I'm also going to turn this into a blog post for you so you can remember the key concepts. On we go.